Hey, and thanks for tuning in. Ryan from Modular Racks. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about light duty hitches on smaller vehicles such as this one and bike racks. This is a problem, or I guess a concern, that we run into all the time here in the shop, and that is a class 1 1.25" hitch. These hitches often have a really low tongue weight. That means the weight that can push down on the hitch. This weight, like so. If you go down, that's your tongue weight that you're pushing down on. What happens in this scenario is you end up with something that's called a fulcrum point. What a fulcrum point is you've got a load that is way out here and it's pushing down like this. That means you exponentially increase the torque that goes on that hitch. So if I fold this down and this weight comes back here and I put a real heavy, say an e-bike on here, that push you can actually see when I'm doing this, and we can get the camera, and it flexes the hitch, just me pushing on that. So that is a lot of load on a light duty hitch. We've got a bike here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it to the rack, and I'm going to show you what I believe is one of the best and easiest solutions to take load off of that hitch so that you can safely carry bikes on the back of your vehicle, and more importantly, heavy bikes on the back of your vehicle with a class 1 hitch. This will also not only make things safe and take the load off the hitch, but it also act as what's called an anti-wobble. So that little 1.25" hitch where you get a lot of wobble and movement because it can't support all of this mass, putting this on will also stop all of that movement. So let's get this bike loaded up and I'll show you. Okay, so what we're going to be using today is the Rhino-Rack Bonnet Anchor. Got one of these here out of the pack, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to mount it into the trunk of the vehicle, and this is where it gets really easy. Basically, you open it up and you take the cylinder part of it here and you put it in a spot where the trunk, the latch, none of that's going to touch it. You close the trunk, door, or anything else, and now I have a strong tie point. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to put my little tie strap on it here. I'm going to put it around the bike rack and I'm going to cinch it up. What you're going to see is that bike rack raise up a bit. That load has come off of the hitch. Everything is well supported, and now I don't have that movement in the hitch. It doesn't go up and down, and it doesn't wobble quite as much either. So now when I drive down the road and I'm going 100 kilometers an hour and I hit a big divot in the road, and all this weight that's sitting on the back of the vehicle hanging off the back of that hitch and going down really hard, it doesn't overload that hitch and bend something, or worse yet, actually come off the vehicle. So now you can take a really light duty car like this Chevrolet Volt here with a class 1 hitch with a 100-pound tongue weight and safely put on, say, 2 e-bikes at 60 pounds apiece, which are well over 100 pounds, and the bike rack weight is on there too. So another note that I'd like to make when it comes to supporting your bike rack on a hitch, something you need to take into account is an unsupported load on the hitch. I mentioned that earlier, and what that means is basically if you have a trailer on the back of a vehicle, you have an axle supporting some of that weight. An unsupported load is exactly a bike rack, that fulcrum point I had talked about, that weight hanging way off the back. So when you're cruising down the highway at 100 kilometers an hour and you hit a big bump, and all that weight comes down on the vehicle, it will far exceed whatever weight you've actually got on there. It might double or triple. So when you've got a weight capacity on a hitch of say 100 pounds like this one, whenever we have an unsupported load in the shop, we always recommend to customers to cut that in half. That goes down to 50 pounds, which is almost nothing. Even your class 2 hitch, which goes up to 150, maybe 200 pounds, you want to take that down to 100. Maybe you can bump that a bit more on the heavier duty hitches up to 125, but still you put 2 e-bikes on there, 60 pounds each, plus a 30, 40, or 50 pound bike rack, you're getting really close to 200 pounds, and you should be supporting that with a strap so you do not overload that hitch should you hit a big bump when you're out on the road. Now, let's also show you how this universal anchor point can be used in lots of other areas on the vehicle. One of the most common uses for this strap would be to load or put a tie-down point for something like a kayak on the roof. So if you've got kayaks up top, you got to run a strap down to the front of the car somewhere so they don't put a bunch of load on the roof racks. You got to have straps running on your paint. You got to put a tow hook or something in the front here. Instead, you can take this, put it in an area, again, in the engine bay where there's space for it, close the hood. And now I have a strong tie point where I can go up to the top of the car and down to my kayaks and not put any damage on the vehicle and make sure everything's safe up there. So you can literally take this strap and put it in a door, in a hood, in a trunk, and use it as a tie point on any vehicle. So that's how to support a bike rack on a vehicle with a light duty hitch using a bonnet anchor or something like a bonnet anchor from Rhino-Rack. If you want one of these for your vehicle, there'll be a link down below to purchase one of these. If you enjoyed this video, you want to follow when we put some new ones out there with information or review of products, please subscribe below. If you got any comments or questions about this, let us know. We'd love to get your feedback. Appreciate you watching. Tune in next time. I'm Ryan, Modular Racks.